This is my audience, my dad, my mom, my aunt, my grandma, and my cousin. Imagine this. You're at your local shopping center, and out of the corner of your eye, you see a really cool shirt, or a delicious looking candy bar that's just making your mouth water. What would you do? Most people would just buy it on the spot. And that right there is an example of an impulsive purchase. I am here to present to you when an impulsive purchase can lead to an extremely slippery slope and lead to the path of compulsive buying, which can be extremely detrimental to those who are financially weak and vulnerable. Before we can begin to talk about the issues of compulsive buying in Americans, we must define what the word is and how compulsive buying affects your daily life and can severely harm your future in the process. Elizabeth Hartney, the director of the Center for Health Leadership and Research at Royal University, defines impulsive shopping as buying items that a person was not planning to purchase, while comparatively defining compulsive shopping as a compulsive need to buy items, many of which aren't needed, and that people who engage in compulsive shopping do so to improve their mood, improve their self-image, get social support, and cope with stress. Impulsive buying is mostly harmless and is something that most Americans do without thinking. The problem, however, arises when impulsive buying turns into a compulsive or mental need to spend money. A way to recognize if your spending has become a problem is when you start to feel shame or remorse after you have done too much shopping. If you recognize that you are starting to become a compulsive buyer, it is extremely important to tackle the problem early through a very simple process: self-evaluation and self-restraint. You need to be able to seriously recognize when you have a problem and when to tell yourself no. But sometimes the problem can evolve into something even more dangerous: a compulsive buying disorder. Compulsive buying disorder is a mental health condition characterized by the persistent, excessive, impulsive, and uncontrollable purchase of products in spite of severe psychological, social, occupational, or financial consequences. Compulsive buying disorder is the worst stage of impulsive buying, where constantly spending money becomes a serious form of addiction. And even though one may start to feel serious guilt about their problems, they are mentally incapable of stopping it on their own. This is where our second solution comes in: seeking professional help and help from loved ones. To some people, seeking professional help for compulsive spending can often feel like you have failed in some way, or that others would just be able to fix the problems by themselves. I can assure you that seeking help is never an admittance of failure, and recent studies suggest that 5% of adults worldwide suffer from compulsive spending disorder. Although there is no known cure for shopping addiction, therapy can help someone move forward in life with minimal symptoms. If you initially feel uncomfortable going to a professional, it is extremely important to reach out to close family and friends who could be your first line defense in treating your addiction. Now that we have talked about ways and where to seek help, we must talk about the problem facing compulsive spenders: budgeting. Budgeting to a compulsive spender can seem like a hassle and a waste of time. Why would I set a hard budget when I know things are going to come up and I'm going to be forced to go over my budget anyway, due to things that are simply out of my control? This is where the common misconception of budgeting lies. Budgeting is not the practice of setting hard, strict rules that you are never to break. Rather, budgeting is the concept of setting loose guidelines with slight restrictions in order for you to set goals to strive for. It is okay to go slightly over budget when you first make it. What's important is that you made it in the first place. When you first make a budget, it may seem very difficult to stick with it. But over time, as you continue to set a budget plan, it will become easier to follow and stay within the margins. Now that we have addressed the problems and fears many can have starting an initial budget, we can discuss strategies you can take to help you stick to that budget. Due to time constraints, I will give you the top 3 things to help you stick with a budget. The following tips and strategies were provided by RamseySolutions.com, a popular website that helps millions of adults with budgeting and money management. The first step may seem contradictory, but it is to give yourself permission to spend on yourself. Again, budgeting is not a form of punishment, so you must allow yourself to occasionally spend a little money on yourself and your family. The second tip is when buying things online, if you see something you want, leave it in your cart for at least a day or 2 before you buy it. Leaving it in your cart gives you time to assess if the item is truly worth the money to you. If you use this practice often, you may actually find out more often than not that you'll completely forget about it in the first place, which is a true sign that it wasn't worth it to you, that you didn't really need it. The final trick you can use to shop is to shop with a plan in mind. If you set exactly what you're going to buy and calculate about how much it's going to cost in total, it gives you the specific numbers and makes it much easier to stick to that initial budget. In conclusion, I have told you about the initial problem of compulsive spending, when compulsive spending evolves from a problem to addiction, and how to set and stick to that budget. Impulsive spending is a slippery slope that can lead to problems and eventually a form of addiction. Even if you do not suffer from compulsive spending yourself, I implore everyone to set a budget and practice responsible money spending in your daily life. Thank you for your time.
6 minutes and 54 seconds.
Perfect.